Hello and welcome back into the Michigan Football Report. I'm Lena Bond, and this is the king of Michigan football media, James Yoder. A little bit of a different show for you guys today. He's not doing rumors. We're going to have a little bit more fun. We're first going to break down the 2018 depth chart for our Michigan Wolverines, then be taking a look at social mailbag. I know a lot of you guys had a question for the king himself, and then at the end, James Yoder will be breaking down his case on why he should be Harbaugh's next executive assistant.
Lena, no rumors say so much happened over the weekend with recruiting five new commitments to the 2019 class. We're going to break that down later in the week, tell you who's still out there that might commit maybe this week or this weekend. So we'll talk recruiting later in the week.
Yep, you guys are so spoiled. 2 Michigan football reports this week, but let's go ahead and get into that depth chart, starting none other than the quarterback position, James. We have Shea Patterson. I think it's pretty clear that he will be the starter for the Wolverines. Backing him up will be Jalen McCaffrey, and fighting it out for that third string spot is Brandon Peters and Joe Milton. James, what can you tell me about this position?
Yeah, so I talked about it in last week's or 2 weeks ago's the Saturday version about 9 days ago, Michigan Football Report. Shea Patterson is your unquestioned starter. He left spring practice knowing he's going to be starter. He's got a playbook that only he will be allowed to run this year with about a dozen or so run, pass option, or spread option style plays. So Shea Patterson's been your quarterback. I think the biggest development, I'm going out on a limb here. I don't think this is a guarantee this could happen, but I'm putting Jalen McCaffrey as your backup quarterback. Brandon Peters coming into his redshirt sophomore year, and of course Joe Milton, the true freshman. I think Milton will get some playing time because that new redshirt freshman rule that the NCAA just implemented. But big news here, Jalen McCaffrey will be your backup quarterback. I think it's a little bit of talent, McCaffrey being the younger guy. And then last but not least, Lana, Brandon Peters, hearing some attitude issues. I don't have enough to say maybe he's going to transfer, but quite a few people, more than 2, have come out to me and said, hey, look for Peters to maybe not be even on the team this coming fall. We'll see what happens. But right now, I've got Jalen McCaffrey, your backup. Shea Patterson, if we were giving it a 4 Harbaugh, or Harbaugh had FACK, will be your starter in 2018 at the quarterback position.
James, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question here. I think a lot of Wolverine fans have the same question on their mind. What kind of stats do you project for Shea going into his first year with the Wolverines?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a record year for the Michigan Wolverines. I really do, Lane. I think he can break the Michigan football touchdown record. I think he can break for a season. I think he can break the passing record for most yards this season. So I am predicting about 3,500 yards passing and 34 to 37 passing touchdowns through the air. Both will be Michigan all-time records. So I think Shea Patterson is definitely the quarterback. I think he's going to put up big-time stats. Michigan's receivers are both sophomores, the starting receivers, very seasoned. But I want to know from these guys, Lana,
yes,
who do we think will be Michigan's starting quarterback in 2018? I think a lot of people have questioned, no, Shea Patterson's not the starter yet. Michigan's going to have a competition. Of course there's a competition. And let me say this. If for some reason Joe Milton came in and was playing like Cam Newton, he'll be the starter. Let's just be frank this coming fall. But as of right now, it's Shea Patterson. We want to know from you guys. Toss in the comments on YouTube, on Facebook Live, who will be Michigan's starting quarterback in 2018. We want to know from you guys.
All right, let's continue on to the running back position. We have Karan, Higdon, of course, Chris Evans, and then Tru Wilson. Love that name, James. But what do you expect from this position for the Wolverines in 2018?
I think it's going to be one of the strongest, running back, combos that Michigan's had in 5+ years. Obviously, Higdon didn't get many snaps the first 3 or 4 games of the year last year. Chris Evans and some others were getting more snaps. Higdon and Evans will be a little bit of thunder and lightning, okay? A senior and a junior both have had a ton of playing time the last couple years, and Higdon's going to be your unquestioned starter. Had a couple 200-yard games. Both those guys in that Minnesota game where they put up 190+ each showed what they can do as a backfield combination. Tru Wilson, I'm putting him in here as number 3 only because Jim Harbaugh recently said he's the third string running back. He's been with Michigan for 2 seasons, was a under-recruited, smaller player out of the state of Michigan as a high school player. Big-time athlete, though, and I think this is one of those things where Jim Harbaugh is kind of putting his name out there in the media, giving him a little reward for really trying hard, putting his all in during spring practice and the offseason, being a great player in practice last year. But I think what it ultimately comes down to when we talk about playing time, this will be the depth chart going into the season. I truly believe that. When it comes to playing time, keep an eye out for freshman Michael Barrett. We've talked about him recently. Keep an eye out for what he does this year at the running back position. I think he can get a lot of snaps.
All right, the quarterback position, running back position seems to be pretty locked down. Let's take a look at the fullback position now, James. We've got a couple of Bens as your starter and backup for the Wolverines, and then we have Jared Wangler, the redshirt senior, in that third string position. Do you expect a lot from young Ben Mason and young Van Summer this season?
Well, Mason really took over the starting role over a couple of veteran guys, most notably Khaled Hill last year. Mason came in as a true freshman, as a linebacker linebacker last year. Harbaugh said he hit so hard and kind of brought it so greatly that I actually think Mason is one of Jim Harbaugh's favorite players in his entire coaching career. How much he's talked about this guy, and he hasn't even been on Michigan's campus for a year yet. He's a linebacker out of Connecticut, made the position of fullback, unseated a guy in Khalid Hill who had 10 touchdowns in 2016. That's how good of a true freshman season he had.
There, James.
I mean, he's just a beast. Jim Harbaugh has said on multiple interviews that Ben Mason craves human contact unlike any player he's ever been around. So Mason will just give it to you. Ben Van Summer, true freshman coming in, is basically Ben Mason's twin brother, non-related twin brother from another mother. Same kind of build, same kind of mindset when he comes. That's why he's going to be the backup, going to play as a freshman. Last but not least, fifth-year senior Jared Wangler. Everyone remembers his father, a Michigan quarterback from about 35-ish plus years ago. Third string, making the switch over from linebacker. So really a couple linebackers here, moving over the fullback position, mostly get playing time. And these guys are going to be a great setup of fullbacks for Michigan in 2018.
All right, James, let's take a look at the trenches now, and specifically that left tackle spot. Who's going to be protecting Shea Patterson come 2018?
So James Hudson, redshirt freshman, didn't play in 2017 out of the city of Toledo. We all know my affinity for Toledo. Unseating Juwan Bushell-Beatty. Now, all the local media guys are saying right now it's Bushell-Beatty's the starter at left tackle, is a fifth-year guy. I have it from very good sources, multiple sources that don't even know each other, that Hudson is going to win the role. He was almost ready to unseat Bushell-Beatty at the end of spring ball and is putting the work over summer so far. Bushell-Beatty in his fifth year, there's a reason he hasn't got much playing time, that people projected him to be a starter for multiple seasons. Now, keep an eye out for Jalen Mayfield. I have a source. That source knows who he is. That tells me a lot of things about Mayfield. Has been right on everything he's told me so far. Said that Ed Warner is all over Mayfield to put in the work this summer to be that starting left tackle as a true freshman. Keep an eye out for that. Only one time in Michigan football history has a true freshman started at left tackle. So Jalen Mayfield coming in thinking he has the ability to win the job.
And Jalen Mayfield, friend of the program, right, James?
Absolutely. You know, we interviewed him this past February.
Yep, great kid. Let's take a look at that left guard position now. Got the Ben Bredesen. He's going to be the returning starter. He's a junior. And then we look at a couple of redshirt sophomore and a redshirt freshman. So some youth behind him, James.
Yeah, Ben Bredesen started as a true freshman coming into his third year. He's moved around quite a bit, Lane. He's played multiple positions in his career at Michigan. Spinellis and Hungerford, guys who are more depth guys. I don't know if they'll be starters in the long term. We'll have to see. I really think Bredesen needs to stick around for his senior year for Michigan to not have so much, I think, in continuity, if that's even a word, on the offensive line like they've had for much of the past decade. A guy like Bredesen, much like Mason Cole, who has been there for 4 seasons starting, really can kind of bring an anchor to that offensive line. Now, Bredesen, Lena, is, as of right now, seen as a high-level NFL prospect. Probably not a first-round guy, but would probably get drafted at least the third round at worst after his true junior year. So he is a prospect who could go pro, probably the only one other than Shea Patterson right now on the offense because this offense is so young. So keep an eye out for Bredesen. If he plays, if Ed Warner kind of elevates his play level this year, gets him to that NFL talent. Some people are already saying that he has the ability to, and if he has the right coaching, I think potentially he could leave after his junior year. So this is the depth chart at left guard as things stand right now.
Let's take a look at this center position now, James, and you're going to see right there, TBD. So there's only one guy on the list. He's a sophomore, Cesar Ruiz. Is it worried some to you at all that there's only one guy kind of named right now?
I mean, look, I went through the depth chart. I just couldn't find anybody to put there. Like, other guys have moved around to tackle. Mason Cole is now in the pros. I don't know what they're going to do if something happens to Cesar Ruiz. There's no one that is, just waiting to step in. Ruiz is only a true sophomore, just finishing up his true freshman year. So when that is the case, I don't know who to put there. There are no other centers on Michigan's roster that I think have any chance of playing this year. So if Ruiz got hurt, I think you have to move somebody like Bredesen or somebody else, maybe Chuck Filiaga, who's a backup at guard. We're going to come up here and show, maybe move him to the center role. But right now, it is Cesar Ruiz or bust for at least the next 2 seasons, and hoping that Cesar Ruiz sticks around for all 4 years in the 2020 season and take it from there. So as of right now, it is Cesar Ruiz or bust. I don't have anyone who is a viable backup. Michigan will completely have to reconfigure the offensive line if Ruiz is not able to play for a game.
All right, let's take it to the other side of the line now, that right guard spot. We got a returning starter. He's a junior, and then a lot of youth behind him, James.
Yeah, I mean, Onwenu is a guy with some high-level talent. Now, Jim Harbaugh has been on him for a couple years for his weights. You know, there was a time that people were saying he's pushing almost 400 pounds. He's just a mountain of a man, Lena. Keep an eye out for Chuck Filiaga, one of Michigan's biggest recruits in the 2017 class. And with that being said, I think Filiaga is one that's going to be, disruptive this year. He's going to maybe get the sixth most snaps on the offensive line behind the 5 stars. I think they're going to put him in different roles. You might see him kind of kick it out to tackle if you absolutely needed to, barring an injury with someone. You could see him sneak into center. I don't know what they're going to do with Filiaga, but he is the guy of these 3 I'm most excited about now. I don't think Onwenu has shown enough that is making you think he's going to be a high-level All-Big Ten performer. So as of now, Onwenu is the starter. Filiaga is a guy who's going to demand snaps coming into his second year at Michigan, redshirted last year. But Jim Harbaugh said, hey, there was a time that I thought about pulling Chuck Filiaga's redshirt, getting him in the game when we needed some better play on the offensive line.
All right, let's wrap up the offensive line now, James. And we have a new starter at right tackle in Jon Runyan. What do you expect out of him in 2018?
Hey, I expect great play, just like we got from his daddy back 25, 30 years ago, Jon Runyan Sr. So Jon Runyan Jr. has come on with a new attitude throughout conditioning into spring practice. And the Michigan Football Strength and Conditioning, the new program that's in there, basically he has bought into it as much as anybody. And I think we're going to see some nice things from Runyan. I put Mayfield in there as a backup. We saw him on left tackle as well because I think Jalen Mayfield is a guy who is ready to play for Michigan football, is ready to get snaps. I don't think Mayfield will redshirt. So the only, we see Mayfield the backup at multiple positions. There's a reason he's back up here, Landon, because he is all the guys on Michigan's roster. Mayfield, I believe from the source I've talked to, has the most likely to play and get significant snaps at right tackle, at left tackle. We'll see, but he's going to be getting some snaps in that second line this year.
All right, let's move on to the tight end position. There's a lot of names on this list, James, including, I know, one tight end that a lot of people are excited about, young Mustafa Muhammad for the program.
Yeah, definitely friend of the program. Have interviewed him. Zach Gentry is your starter. I think him and Sean McCune. It's funny. Sean McCune, we were told last year, pronunciation guy. Jim Harbaugh recently on his own podcast said Sean McKeon. I don't know what to say with this guy anymore. All I know is a nice player. Now, Eubanks there at the third string, I think is an interesting player to keep an eye on because he actually was kind of your starter, your 1A starter last year at the beginning of the year, had some nice play against Florida and then ended up getting hurt. So Gentry and McCune came on throughout the rest of the year. And I think Gentry, from what I've been told, has just had a phenomenal offseason. Look at these moves. Lena, he came into Michigan as Jim Harbaugh's first quarterback recruit in the 2015 class and didn't really cut it as a quarterback, but he's 6'7", is a freak athlete, can run like the wind. Some compared him to kind of like a Cam Newton as far as his size. You put Cam Newton at tight end, you're going to get some results like we saw from Gentry. So just learning the position. But Zach Gentry, Lena, I believe is going to be Michigan's leader in catches from the tight end position this year. That's why we put him at number 1, and I can't wait to see what Zach Gentry does. Now, he's had a couple seasons under his belt at the tight end role, but that tight end position is so deep. We're able to list 5 guys that we thought could get snaps really at any time. The big kind of one to keep an eye on, we talked about in a few shows ago, Tyrone Wheatley Jr., somebody that people thought was going to start 3 years ago, 2 years ago, never really has broken into that tight end role, has been rumored to be a transfer candidate. Keep an eye out for that one this summer.
All right, let's take it to the wide receivers now, James, and Tariq Black, Nico Collins, Jake McCurry. Not too many new names here. Yeah,
so Tariq Black started the year last year, had a touchdown at a really big game against Florida, and Michigan fans were really excited about him. Really outperformed 5-star recruit in his own class 2017 in Donovan Peoples-Jones. Black is back. He is going to be a redshirt freshman this year. He did get his redshirt, but he actually told media recently, they asked him about it. He's like, they haven't told me for sure either way, although Jim Harbaugh did say he got his red shirt. He said, it doesn't matter. I'm not planning on using it anyways, which means he doesn't plan on for being in Michigan for 5 years. I think it's what you want to see out of your best wide receiver, the guy who will probably lead the team in catches in 2018. Tariq Black. Nico Collins is a player who came on at the end of the year, Lena, and got a lot of play there towards the end of the season. He's a backup. If they go 4 wide, if they go 5 wide even, Nico Collins will be there getting those 4 and 5 wide, those spread formation starting reps there. Jake McCurry, somebody that has been getting, he is the, other than Michael Dwumfor, he is the offensive, never heard of him, but some reason all the insiders are talking about him guy, coming in, came in as a walk-on, getting some reps, getting some big-time play in spring football in these workouts. So keep an eye out for Jake McCurry. I had never heard of him. He's a walk-on, but a couple people I know said, hey, this guy is going to get some snaps this year. He's going to get some catches. Is the hype real with McCurry? I don't know. We're going to find out this fall.
TBD for sure. Let's continue on with the wide receiver position, though. We have DPJ Eddie McDoom. Love that name. Can you see McDoom stepping up for the Wolverines this season as a junior?
No, I mean, that's where I think we go 4 and 5 wide by receivers. I think McDoom is going to be the odd man out, even though he's kind of the backup to Donovan Peoples-Jones as it is right now. I think you'll see a tight end like Gentry in that 4 and 5 wide. I think you'll see Nico Collins in there. Maybe even a little bit of Chris Evans. We saw him split out wide last year. But Donovan Peoples-Jones is lightning in the bottle. He is the new version of Mario Manningham for the Michigan Wolverines. Had some trouble with routes. I don't really think he got the coaching of the wide receiver position that he needed last year coming in and starting as a true freshman. Has that coaching now with Jim McElwain. And to be frank, he's a guy, because of his play and because of Black's play, I mean, Kakoa Crawford's no longer on campus, and there's a reason. It's because Donovan Peoples-Jones' talent has basically taken Crawford and put him on the bench permanently. So Peoples-Jones should have a good year. This is I think a confident of a 1-2 combo wide receiver with Black and Peoples-Jones that Michigan has had in 5-6 years. I think even going back to 2016 season, Michigan had some really great, strong wide receiver core. This is as confident as I've been, I think, 2 more years from now. If these guys stick around to their 4th year, you're going to talk about all-American potential at both wide receiver positions.
All right, let's take it to the slot position now, our last position on offense, and we have a new name for the starter, Oliver Martin, to be backed up by Grant Perry, the senior, James.
Look, people are questioning my I put this out there on the internet. I put it on previous shows. I put it on my Twitter account, put it on the James Yoder Facebook account. People have been questioning this one. Grant Perry, a multiple-year starter. Oliver Martin didn't even give any snaps last year. What's the deal? Martin outperformed basically almost everybody from the wide receiver crew. His body is built more like a Christian McCaffrey. He's very, very compact, very shifty. Not necessarily has the size to be a running back, which they thought about changing him to at one point. But he just catches the ball better, has better moves in the open field than Grant Perry, and was one of Jim Harbaugh's favorite recruits because of his workman-like attitude when it came to getting the ball in his hands and not going down. Grant Perry, injury, also legal concerns, I think is finding himself kind of as the years go by in his career, him getting less and less touches. Now, he led Michigan, wide receivers in all catches last year, so people are going to point to that. But I think youth will be served with Michigan football at the wide receiver crew this year, Lena. 3 sophomores, true star, I guess, second-year players, Black, Peoples-Jones, and of course Oliver Martin as a redshirt freshman coming in and playing in 2018 as your starters. I don't know what we really call slot a starting role, but we listed it because Michigan uses it so frequently, as does almost every team in college football in 2018. If not, I'm not sure what kind of offense you're playing, of course.
All right, so all in all, 8 returning starters for the Michigan Wolverines in 2018 on offense.
Yeah, so we've got 2 offensive linemen, then a new start, and of course Shea Patterson. Now, is Shea Patterson really a new starter? I don't know. He started in the SEC last year. He started in the SEC 2 years ago, a few games as a freshman. He's a new starter to the University of Michigan, and as such, we're going to list him as a starter.